Hi Gemini, this is your general tarot reading for Gemini Sun, Moon and Ascendant Rising sign for the month of April. Gemini, I hope you've been enjoying some of the nicer energy from March and a little bit into April that came from the 5th house, the full moon that was in the 5th house, which might have found you being more creative, being more happy, doing more pleasurable things. With your lover, perhaps even a new romance, maybe, or just rekindling the fun and play and joy in an existing romance. For those of you who are single, maybe you just were doing whatever the damn hell you wanted as long as it made you happy. It's that kind of energy, and people tuned into that and responded to it, and it just seemed to be very pleasurable. For those of you who have children or work with children, there could have been a kind of double-edged thing where you were having more fun and joy and play with them because you were more tuned in with them, but you probably noticed that they were a little bit more emotional. They may have needed a little bit more care than usual. But all in all, in the end, it's lovely energy, Gemini, so that's not too bad. Again, as we leave March and enter April, there's this weird, unusual thing that seems to have been hanging around for a while, and that is that groups of people, your larger circle of friends, social media, any group that you're kind of associated with or plugged into, they might have been surprising you, behaving in a way that may not have been all that good, Gemini, or surprising. Some friends may have let you down. It might have only been a small thing, but it was quite shocking that you might have felt a little bit betrayed. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge crisis like Julius Caesar where you get all the knife in your back. It mightn't have been as big as that. It was just a moment with your circle of friends or a group on social media or so on where you went, I wasn't expecting them to behave like that. I feel a bit let down by that. But as April continues, it does get a whole lot better. And of course, there's Saturn and Pluto now in your 8th house. The 8th house is the very deep and psychological house. Births, deaths, transformations, other people's money, maybe even your partner's money. Look, I'm talking about this, and the first card that comes out is the Tower. I really am going to talk about this, Gemini, because it's a very important month for you to begin seeing huge changes in 8th house issues, intimacy, sexual issues, sexual intimacy, opening yourself up psychologically, opening yourself up on a much deeper level, looking at long-term investments with yourself or with somebody else, sharing that too. Another card just coming out there, it's the 7 of Wands, laying it down there. You know what I'm doing here, Gemini, don't I? Don't you? If you've seen my videos before, I'm talking about the energies and shuffling the cards here, waiting for the right ones to come out. Just for you, Gem. Just for you, because it's all about you. And yeah, so Jupiter is still retrograde there in your 6th house, so your health and your day-to-day tasks, your work life, how you organize your work life basically, they're all being reviewed at the moment in an effort to make them run smoother. So if you've noticed that you were kind of unhappy about how your health was, maybe you were just feeling the extra aches and pains, something will happen around April that will just make that feel like you're healing it. So an unusual thing, when I was looking at the chart, at basically where all the planets are and all the activity is, I noticed something. I noticed that your April, even though it's a month of healing and great transformation, it's very like a very, very, very old story, and I would like to tell it to you because it absolutely talks about the energies you're going to experience. Okay, Jim? So, some of you might be familiar with this story. It's maybe over 5,500 years old. It's an old Sumerian story, and it's the descent of Inanna into the underworld. Inanna, sometimes known as Ishtar, often represented by Venus, but really it's the 8th house. She was a goddess, Inanna, who had a sister, and her sister lived in the underworld, 8th house. And Inanna was very powerful on a superficial way, above ground, no depth, just powerful in everything that she already knows. She was adorned in the most beautiful clothes, wearing a crown and jewels of the finest. But she realized that there was something missing. She was under her father's authority. She had basically authority figures telling her what to do, even though she was quite a powerful person. And she was ambitious to expand her power. And all the land was conquered, so where could she go next? As the 8, we're talking about 8th house issues, and the 8 of Pentacles comes out. Well, she knew her sister ruled the underworld, 8th house, underground, underworld, world. That card came out, so 4 other cards came out. Page of Swords. This was the next one. 6 of Pentacles. 2 of Wands, looking for other places to conquer. 2 of Cups. Perfect. Only a couple of more cards and I'll continue with the story. So, her sister, so it was her blood sister, so like Gemini, there was a twin, one above ground, ruling on a superficial level, and one below ground, ruling all those intimate, secret, dark, shadowy things. And underground is where really all the treasures are. The raw materials of this world, diamonds, gold, platinum, all underground. And Inanna said, I must have this. So what did she do? She decided to go on this epic journey in an effort to win the throne of underground, defeat her twin, Gemini, her twin sister. And you see here, Venus and the Sun are in the 12th house, all things hidden and mysterious. This is why I'm telling you this story, Gemini. And so she goes underground to this mysterious hidden place, and she meets the gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper informs her sister, I can never pronounce that, Ereshkigal is her name, and she announces to her, the gatekeeper announces to Inanna's sister that Inanna was there wanting to come in. And Inanna had said, I'm coming here to pay my respects to the death, because that's where all things that are dead and transformed go, to the death of the bull of heaven, Taurus, you see, as you leave Taurus and enter Gemini. And her sister was not impressed, because her sister knew what was going on. Her twin knew it and said, you can't come in, don't let her in, block all the gates, bolt the 7 gates of the underworld to keep her from entering my throne room. So Inanna did not know what to do. She was blocked out. However, she did realize that in order to pass through each gate, the condition that would allow her to do that would be is if she removed an item of clothing and jewelry. And all those things that represent her power in the above world. So she passes through the first gate and she removes her crown. She passes through the second gate. She removes her diamonds, her clothes, her shoes, everything, until she eventually arrives at her sister's throne room and stands in front of her sister, naked, without any power, without any authority. She was completely outside of her own kingdom. She had none of her usual things that would give her the appearance of being somebody having power and control. She was naked just like her. And the first thing her sister did was basically put a spell over her, a curse over her, which made her appear like she had died. And then her sister did a really weird thing. She hung her on a hook. We don't know why they do these weird things in mythology, but they did it anyway. It's all metaphorical. But her friend, her servant, Inanna's servant, learned of what had happened, because Inanna had said, look, if I don't come back from here, you need to send somebody to rescue me. And her very, very good and loyal friend returned, spoke to Enki, Inanna's father, told him of the problem, see, an authority figure, told him of the problem, and in turn, Inanna was freed. Now here's the 11th house issue, to do with friends, groups of people that you might feel let down by. When Inanna returned after being cured of this curse of looking like she had been dead, and she surfaced back up to the world that she knows, she thought all the people would really be mourning her. She thought all the people would be missing her. It seems that they weren't. Instead, they said, oh, Inanna's gone, let's find a substitute. This did not make her happy, because in that moment she had realized that she didn't have such a great power or such a great influence or such a great connection with the people that she had thought she could depend upon. Worse again, her husband, who should have been destroyed with grief, was dressed head to toe in all the finest, sitting on the throne and enjoying his new position of fame. You think that went down well? That didn't go down well. And there was a big crisis, a big drama. And Inanna eventually had her husband removed from the throne and put down into the underworld to replace her, along with his sister, who voluntarily went with him. And what you'll see is that Inanna and her sister, two people were down below at that point, and then they were replaced. When she surfaced back up, there's a moment where her and her sister joined, because they actually weren't really that separate, like GEMINI, the twins who came together. So when she commanded control and power of the underworld from her sister, or united in some way with her sister, two other people had to replace those women, those goddesses. And it was her husband. He was cast down to the underworld. Get your ass down there into the underworld, and I don't want to see you again. And his sister went there too. So why this story? Why? Because that's exactly the theme of April. It will be you going through with Saturn and Pluto going retrograde this month and joined in there with Mars, There will be that real moment where you finally have to go deeper. You finally have to see the world, the shadow world, the underworld that needs to be conquered. You finally have to be like Inanna and her sister. Meet, join, and come back with more power and more control. You finally have to understand that some of the groups, Two of Pentacles just came out there, some of the groups of people that you may have depended on didn't behave in a way that was loyal. And when you arrive back in April, on the, what date is it? On the 25th, around the 25th of April, where Venus then returns and comes back into her full power in the first house. This is when you, Gemini, start to kick ass. Now we know that Chiron is leaving Pisces and he's entering Aries also. And around this same time, between 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th of April, there will be this new understanding, a new transformation, a complete and utter rebirth of how you perceive your entire being. Something will die and something will be reborn and something will be hugely healed. And if you've been feeling the pressure of all the energies for months now, and you just believe that there's no end to it, this epic tale, this epic saga that's happening for you in April is going to be that big turnaround, Gemini. And I hope that makes you happy. I hope it does. Waiting on 3 more cards. They're coming too slowly, so I'll choose them. The Hierophant, changing your beliefs and your perspectives. That's the month. The journey back out from the underworld, the 8 of Cups. That's the month. Last card, Gemini. The 9 of Wands, giving something that final push, your push towards power. Gemini, I hope I haven't lost you in what I was trying to tell you there. I was just trying to show you how your power in April is going to be completely and utterly transformed. But in order to do that, you'll be faced with having to step out of what you know and challenge these hidden parts of yourself in your world, the intimacy, the fly was just going down there, the intimacy and the deeper issues that you probably don't usually like to face. By facing them in April, you come back much stronger, healed, and with a larger world and a bigger kingdom. It does work out. It's beautiful. I'm going to turn the cards down here now, Gem, and let's have a look at the cards. Come. So this is a bit tricky because what happened earlier, being Mercury retrograde, of course, my tripod stand broke, so hopefully it behaves itself and stays. So we begin with this card, the Tower. Like I said, everything in April is going to feel like it's coming crashing down. But the thing with the Tower is that even though it's unexpected, even though it feels like a crisis, even though it feels like, where did that come from? You'll be able to realize that the crumbling down of this Tower isn't really such a big surprise. There are things in your life that need to be addressed before they just come crumbling down on their own. And if there's anything superficial in your life, if there's anything that you're tired of, remember, all this energy in the 8th house. 8th house is very scorpionic. And Scorpios have the energy of creating something, and then once it's created, they have then the confidence to also then destroy it and begin again. You know the way you see some of the monks in Tibet who create these wonderful sand mandalas, and once they create them, then the whole point is to destroy them. And that's what, excuse me, at the start of April will feel like. A great destruction, which might at the beginning look like a crisis, but in actual fact it is clearing the way so that you can begin a new life with a sense of healing. Sorry, I'm just fixing the camera here. With a sense of healing, and to start again. And from the ashes of this great what seems like a catastrophe comes, out of the ashes is the phoenix from the flame. You know, rising from the ashes. So don't worry about this. Like I said, there has been so much heavy energy, stressful energy around for everybody, basically. And I'm sorry about this, Gemini. And what is going to happen now is this big purification in April. So go with it and allow it to happen. Beside that is, now I tell you what I'm going to do. This tripod is really not going to last this reading, so if you don't mind, Gemini, I'm just going to do the cards up here and talk to you. So the great catastrophe that's happening might find you at some point, you'll want to defend it. If something is coming down, you'll want to hold it up and you'll want to defend it, you'll want to fight for it, you'll want to do everything in your power for it not to collapse, for it not to be completely and utterly destroyed. But it's not really where your energy should be. It's not really what you should be doing. If it's a relationship, if it's just your whole approach to relationships, to work, to your friends, to your family, then you can no longer support or defend the old way of doing things, Gemini. You're going to have to let something collapse, really. If it's not right for you, let it go. If it's only on a superficial level, let it go, baby, because you have much bigger worlds to conquer. I mean, this guy, he's standing up on the top of his hill, trying to defend his corner of the world. He's trying to defend his pocket, like even if it's in your work, you're trying to defend what you're doing. You're trying to defend your relationship, maybe with somebody that isn't exactly good for you. You're trying to defend all these things that ultimately you've no choice. If they're shit and if they're not helping you grow, if they're not on your real true path, you've just got to let them go, Now the 8 again, it's all 8th house stuff. When you do have this big transformation, and it'll be highly accelerated in April, and when you do have it, it will give you far more focus because it will open up this new world to you. New information, new things to learn, new things to see. And in everything that you're doing in your life, be it in your work life, your home life, your relationships, you will understand that there is more raw material, that you've been offered a brand new plate of things to play with, of opportunities to work with, of new raw materials. And you'll go, you'll be so excited about that because you're naturally curious, Gemini. You're naturally interested in taking things apart to see how they work. So imagine that great feeling you're going to have in April when the penny drops and you suddenly open your eyes and you say, there is so much more for me here. There is so much more available for me to work with, for me to grow with. It's just door after door after door will open. And it will give you such energy and drive to focus on your future and to finally heal any of the shit that really had to come crashing down because it just didn't serve you anymore, Gem. And of course, then beside that, we have the world, like Inanna. You had conquered something in your life and perhaps had gotten bored. Again, in your work life, in your relationships, in your projects, in whatever creative endeavor that you have, you'd gotten, I've been there, I've seen that, I've done it all, there's nothing more to interest me. People are just assholes, some people are nice, some people bore me. I'm just not really interested in knowing what the difference is anymore. But here now in April, you have this brand new world, really like that Disney movie, a whole new world. That's what it will feel like, a whole new world. This is the card of transformation. And look at the story I told you, Inanna walking from one world into another and having to go in naked. And why naked? Because you have to strip yourself right down, very 8th house, in order to pass through this portal. You have to go in just with the talents that you have, just with the bare raw materials that are in your soul, in your psyche, without any baggage or other crap, because they'll all be cleaned, they'll all be destroyed under this fire. And again, I'm saying this, and I don't want any of you to think that this will be awful. It will be uncomfortable a little bit, but worth it, absolutely, really worth it. Positive. And so there's Inanna, like I said, stepping into her new world, naked, because she wants to experience things fresh from the beginning again, with the eyes of a child, with a sense of play, with a sense that nothing is tainted by her past. Here we have this card. Now, we did say that there are new ideas and new things coming into your life once this transformation happens. And you'll really feel, because this is like a newbie. He's a beginner, he's a learner. He's learning how to wield the new truth. He's learning how to wield the sword of a new creativity. And he can slowly feel, after the disaster, that there's something purer, something now worth thinking about, something now that will engage your mind, something that will fascinate you, something that will inspire you. And this is the first moment that you get to feel that in April. Sometimes this card talks about gossip and slander and immature words and things like that. They're all energies now that you're going to have to steer away from in April, Gemini. If there are, excuse me, if there are people whose words just seem immature to you, whose opinions, the projects that they're doing, the creative endeavours that they have, if they just seem lackluster and without any depth, then just walk away. And if you are finding yourself in a position where you're dealing with gossip or slander, or somebody, sometimes they say this is the spy card, if somebody's watching what you're doing and trying to see it and unravel where you're going with your life, you know, just block that off. That's not energy that you need. And once you block that off, you'll be able to balance the things in your life. I've said this to who? I think it was Aries, that the raw materials that you will now have in April, the new gems, diamonds, rubies, things that come from a deeper place. This guy is going to be able to weigh those, like the assayer, you know, somebody who weighs minerals to see what quality they have. Are they the real thing or are they imitation? That's what you'll be doing. Whenever there's immaturity, you will say, I need to weigh this up. Is this the real deal or is it not? Is it just a bunch of fakeness, you know? And that's what you'll have to do. There'll be a much earthier sense to you, because this is a spiritual transformation too, the great balancing of your spirit. And like Inanna and her sister, the balancing between this world and the underworld came together. They united and balanced their energies in a way that both areas could be ruled and united in that ruling. And so there is a sense of you uniting with people who are more substantial and less whimsical and fanciful. Even though that's also a good energy, a little bit of whimsy and play and brainstorming kind of ideas at a very basic level, that can also be there for some of your projects too, Gemini. And to go with that energy, because if it's playful, if it's fun, if it's not too intense, if you're just learning how to balance these new energies that you're going to find in April, then it's a good way to begin, just by being playing and being a bit lighthearted. Here we have somebody now who has rediscovered new horizons. Everything we've spoken about, Gemini. You've rediscovered in April these brand new horizons, literally a whole new world for yourself to play with and to get serious with. And he's looking out into the horizon, because there is just so much more out there for you now from April, Gemini. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. And look, beside that, once you enter into this new world, relationships won't confuse you anymore. On one hand, we have the story again of Inanna. It's really just coming out in the cards all over the place, where the two people, Gemini, were really united. See the caduceus there, the healing brought together to become one. That's why they say this card is a soulmate energy, because two people become one. Their souls are so intertwined. And for you being Inanna and her sister, the above ground and the deep shadow hidden truths, conquering them, mastering the fears, mastering everything that you just didn't want to acknowledge before, and finding that new world. Once you do, you'll have a much bigger world I keep saying bigger world, but yes, outside, but also inside. It'll be like a flame is ignited in your heart. Now, for some of you, there is this beautiful feeling of coming together with your love, and perhaps using the energy that you find in April to play it out with your lover, to become more intimate, to make a big decision that the two of you are on the same page, that the two of you are in tune with each other, that the two of you are one. So for some of you Geminis, there may be a moment in April where you decide to really commit to a relationship on a very deep level. And if you find that the raw material isn't there with your current partner, even if you're single, but if the raw material isn't there, you won't stand for a poor substitute. From now on, all relationships must have depth. If they are superficial or lack any pure raw quality, it can't be tolerated. You'll reject them from on a soul level if they're not meeting you with the same depth that you now have in April. So the potential for a real strong, loving, happy union with somebody is there. It's beautiful. Another 2. Again, balancing. Look, we've 2 cards that indicate a sense of balance. This is the kind of first moment. It's quite shocking, you know, after this energy, what seems like a catastrophe. And yeah, stepping into a new world, it can feel a bit shocking. It can feel a bit just all too new. And what you might find yourself doing is balancing and juggling and putting your first foot on the ground in this new world and saying, okay, how do I balance everything that has just transpired in the month of April? And you'll do it. You'll manage it financially too. You'll manage your money very, very, very well. If you've been having any issues financially, before April leaves, you're going to master that. You're going to figure it out, or at least learn how to balance it. And what else will you be balancing? Your perspective on this world, your beliefs, how you see the world from now on. This is a Taurus card. And Taurus is basically somebody who is a solidifier, somebody who is very earthy, very in tune with, say, pentacle energy, spirit energy, soul energy. And what this card does is it takes things that you believe and it builds a structure around them. So that's what you might be doing here. As you're balancing what this new world feels like, you'll be trying to understand it, like Gemini, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together and trying to put a shape to this new world, because your beliefs will change so radically. You will now say, what do I believe in now? Where can I go now? And for some of you, if you do really join and connect with this gorgeous energy with somebody that you love, it could be a real deep commitment to marriage, going down that traditional route of buying a house, getting married, sharing your resources, committing to moving in together. If you're single, that might be something that you probably want to feel that you can start doing now, that you want to encourage that energy to come into your life, Gemini. So yeah, maybe you're getting married, or at least committing to something. It may only be that you open a joint bank account, but whatever it is, it's something official, something worth celebrating, but with a very like-minded person. Also in April, that's all you can tolerate now. You can only tolerate like-minded people. If somebody is not on your level, which will now be quite a super level, Gemini, in April, if they're not on your level, you don't really want to know. If they're 10 steps behind, even 1 step behind, you just say, oh, go find somebody else to deal with. I have much bigger fish to fry, you know? And Anna's journey out from the underground, starting again, leaving the shit behind, leaving the stress behind, leaving all that crappy energy that we've been experiencing for the last few months behind as we begin to heal. And that's really, really it. I think for a lot of you, there could be some great healing happening in your career, also in your sense of reputation and self-worth. You could also make, for some of you, great inroads in repairing a relationship perhaps with a male figure in your life or some authority figure, that you'll come out from the underworld and have this new world and suddenly say, oh, I need to stop fighting. I need to be more harmonious in my relationships. And it could begin, like I said, with a father figure or a strong male figure in your household or in your family in some way. And you're just coming up. See, you're leaving the shit behind and rising. Now, the final card that came out there is, you're listening to me, obviously, and you're saying, this is a lovely story, but I mean, I can't quite see how the energies will change. I've really had enough. I kind of feel like throwing the towel in. And in everything in my life, it's gone so complicated and convoluted that I can't see how in just 1 month it will suddenly transform. Well, it will, or at least it will begin to transform. You'll begin to see tangible evidence that the energies are transforming, and like the goddess Inanna, coming up from the underworld, coming up from the shadow place with more strength and a greater sense of power. And you will feel at the end of the month that you will need just to give one extra push, that even though this whole new world and everything is wonderful, you'll need one extra push to leave the past behind and to go forward into your future with all your great dreams and plans and wishes and desires and goals. Give it one last push, baby. Breathe in and give it one last push, because 8th house also rules birth, and this is what it's going to be like. Some of you may actually be pregnant, or your partner is pregnant, somebody giving birth. You might hear news of that in April. But in general, the energies are like that moment of birth, where the pressure comes, everything contracts. And it's at that powerful moment where the new birth arrives, where the new life comes. So don't crumble under the pressure, because the pressure promises a new life. Gemini, I do know it was deep. I do know that the cards were a little bit explorative in some ways, but I wanted to give that to you to show you what the energies are like. And I hope you understand why I told you all that story. And it's for you. And I celebrate this energy because it's a new birth. Gemini is being reborn. And congratulations on the birth of your new life. Well done, Gemini. I'm going to leave it here, but if this was your first time watching my videos, please subscribe, like, share, and come to my Facebook page, She Bear Tarot. I add extra content there sometimes, and I really do wish you great luck from what seems to be a catastrophe to this, and for the birth of your new life. Congratulations, baby. Mwah. I send you all my love. See you next time, Jim.